sunshine greetings. In addition to hello for those who plugged in, because I see with at least one or two of the handles, I know that those people are actually not local here in Miami. So thanks for joining us. Suffice to say, there's a lot that has transpired in the last few months, and there's definitely going to be more to be revealed, all of which is affecting our livelihood and especially our spaces, right, where we choose to live. So I think right now, if you've ever considered a condo, whether or not it's as your primary or a second home or even for investment, now is really the time to just explore it a little bit further. As a broker agent, I'm your initial contact. But the funny thing is, after the consultation, the first resource I direct all clients to is a lender. Believe it or not, being clear on what your financing is imperative, and it's best for your transaction. So the reason why it's imperative is, believe it or not, all condos are not created equally. Different condo buildings actually accept different types of financing. Some even stipulate a certain credit score. So if I don't know what you're working with, we may end up wasting time looking at something that you're not even going to be able to get approved. Also, it just so happens that certain banks may do certain properties. Generally, most lenders will do most, but that makes a difference in and of itself. And I'll give you a little testimonial. This was 2 years ago. I was trying to help a client with something at a building that has like a man-made beach as one of its amenities. And it turns out, at least at that time, the homeowners did not have the beach part of the sand insured. So that Main Street bank absolutely wouldn't write a loan for it. And this is where lenders really come into play in terms of having more opportunity. Like I said, there are three reasons why, you're having your financing in place, and me as your agent, understanding what that is helps, because I can make sure you're only going to see the right options. So that's the imperative. Number two, I said, was the fact that it's necessary. There are a lot of times I won't even be able to schedule the showing without it, and especially in this day and age of COVID, a lot of sellers just really only want a serious buyer considering the property be entering the unit, much less the bill. So those days kind of showing just to show have definitely changed. And the last reason I said imperative, I said necessary, and the third reason was best. In real estate, cash is king, and the only thing nearly as good as cash is fast. So if we're going to put an offer in on your favorite, we need to be able to move quickly. So the offer will look stronger if you've already done the background work of having a pre-approval that has on it, an expiration date that is within what the closing date is going to be. And then it's also best because we're now in a market where things are getting a little bit competitive. So it could edge you out in terms of another contract. So as I said, I invited one of my favorite lenders to participate today so that we could have a chat over your lunch break and just talk about, 30 reasons why it's best to consider buying a condo and getting a loan for it right now amid COVID-19. So please welcome the fit lender, Yousif Mohamed from Movement Mortgage.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Very kind of you. So yeah, guys, if anybody's here is tuning in who might not be on my Instagram or my network and is just joining in through Bernie's network, my name is Yousif with Movement Mortgage here in Miami, and actually specifically here in Brickell. And what I do is I focus on supporting all my realtors in all things mortgage, specifically having to do with condo financing, simply because that's something that I've found to be a very important topic to become an expert on because of all the reasons that Bernie just mentioned. So given that scenario, if you guys have any questions as we're talking and you want to drop them down in the comments below about condo financing, mortgages, down payments, credit scores, things like that, feel free to drop them and we'll pick them up as soon as we see them. But in general, Bernie, what do you want me to talk about first? Do you want me to talk about what I think's going on in the market and how the condo stuff looks, or maybe start with the reasons?
Yeah, so we're going to, yes, start with the reasons.
Okay.
And data will work for those of you who've been maybe following for a long time and have seen when Yousif and I have put out content before. What happens is we have one thing. I speak from the real estate realtor point of view, and then Yousif speaks from the lending point of view. So reason number one is historically low interest rates. It's very,
Exactly.
when I talk to prospects, everyone typically says, oh, I'm waiting for the price to drop. But that's really only half of the equation. If you're not paying cash and you're going to be financing, the rate is actually quite critical. So now is a really good time. And if your goal is to borrow, you should really explore what that picture looks like right now. So I'll let you add to that, Yousif.
Exactly, exactly. So just like Bernie mentioned, an interest rate is critical to your financial situation when you're purchasing a property with a mortgage. So right now we're in this really amazing time where interest rates are at historic lows. Historic means ever, right? So that means that our interest rates right now are lower than they've ever been, which means the cost of borrowing money is cheaper than it's ever been before. Meaning that if you were pre-approved, let's say a year ago or 2 years ago for a mortgage, you were pre-approved for, let's say, $300,000. You're exactly the same in credit, income, and assets as you are, as you were then, as you are now. You might be approved for $400,000 instead of $300,000, given the exact same monthly payment. The reason for that is because the interest rate is significantly lower. So if you had a budget of $2,000 a month last year, and you still have a budget of $200,000 or $2,000 a month, you may be able to increase the price of the condo you were looking for simply because of interest rates going significantly lower. So that might be able to push you from a 1 bedroom to a 2 bedroom, or might be able to open up more, a door for different buildings that you might not have had access to before because they were too expensive. So having the opportunity to see the cost of financing decrease significantly means you guys get to purchase more than what you were able to purchase on before.
Right. Great. Thank you for that. Because I think, one of the things that was important today was context. So thank you for explaining the increase in how much, property you could possibly get. But could you talk to us a little bit about rate, knowing that, of course, rate is subject to lots of different things, but I know you seeing what look like some really compelling interest rate numbers on your Instagram. So could you share a few of those before we go to reason number two?
Of course, of course. Great question. So one of the main questions we get as lenders is, what's my rate going to be? And just like you mentioned, Bernie, the rate's different for every single person, and it's going to depend on something we call loan level pricing adjustments, LLPAs for short. LLPAs are things like credit score, how much you're putting down, what kind of a property you're buying, and a few other criterias, right? So when we look at what someone's interest rate is going to be, we base it off of all those criterias. But just to give you guys the inside scoop and secrets and stuff like that, we can just talk to you guys based off of rates we've seen, right? I mean, Bernie and I are closing a condo tomorrow together, so we know what the rates are looking like on that. We closed a couple loans today from other people on Bernie's team, and that's so we know what those rates were as well, very low. So for example, on a 30-year loan, we've seen rates as low as 2.875%, 2.99%. So very, very low rates. We've also seen very good rates on 15-year terms versus 30-year terms. So keep in mind that if you choose to get a mortgage and you want to get a mortgage with a 15-year term instead of a 30-year term, you're going to get a really, really amazing rate. I actually locked one in 2 weeks ago at 2.5% for somebody getting a 15-year mortgage on a condo loan. So when you're working your numbers out, if you have a really great credit score, I think it's fair for you to say that if you were to purchase a condo today in this market in Miami, you could probably use somewhere around a 3% interest rate to base your calculations and assumptions off of.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yes, we do have a client that has taken advantage of that. She's a client that converted from me doing her rental last year to her purchasing this year, who is taking advantage. So let's go to reason number two, which is inventory supply. What's interesting about Miami right now is that we actually have an overlay of hypermarkets. We have both a seller and a buyer's market actually the same time. And it's interesting because it's also a little broken up. So I would say in general, what's happening is it's very much a seller's market in single family because there are a lot of demands in terms of people just wanting their family to be in their own space, and if they're not going to be able to go out and do as many leisure recreational things, they want to be able to have their pool and dine al fresco all at home and self-contained, and especially with homeschooling, maybe convert one piece of the home into be it a home office or a learning space for teens and children in the house. The other side of it is a buyer's market for condos. We already had an oversupply going into the pandemic and the effects that it's had on our market. And there's some people who feel, okay, I don't want to be necessarily around that many people going in and out of a building for whatever reason. So it's a little slower. But let me add some context to that, since my specialty is condos. It doesn't mean in saying that it's a buyer's market that it is a free for all. A good line within a condo building, they all have different layouts. A good line or a good building that is always in demand continues to be in demand and will be competitively priced. And that is the perspective of what I'm seeing from actual transactions. I'm actually going to flash something on the screen for everyone really quickly. I didn't have a chance to pull last week to the week before, but I pulled last week to the week before that. And I know that there are a lot of things going on in the news. Some people who believe that real estate is down in Miami, and that's actually not true. Week over week, we're 5% up in terms of properties being in transaction, and 17% up in terms of closings. So as you're thinking through not only rate, reason number two with inventory supply is also you thinking through your best timing. There's a lot of belief that we're going to continue to see an influx of people coming here. So let me tell you from personal experience and many clients, oh, it's not fun to have competitive offers. So you want to get in there like swimwear when you can. So specifically to number two, Yousif, I think it would be great in terms of inventory supply if you could, just expound specifically on that before we go into population.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I know from on the real estate side, Bernie, that's where your expertise lies in terms of supply and demand of condo units and real estate inventory itself. What you also want to consider is supply and demand of borrowers and people putting offers down on those types of condos, right? Because if you are competing with several people for a condo, you can only assume that the price is going to increase because the demand for that particular condo or condos in general is increasing. But something that's very cool about the time that we're in right now, and the reason why purchasing a condo during COVID-19 may behoove you, is simply because there are restrictions on lending guidelines for a lot of different banks and a lot of different lenders. So what that means is for some people, you may or may not qualify for a condo mortgage. If you had qualified before, you may not still qualify now because credit score requirements may be higher, down payment requirements may be higher as well. So if you are a very well qualified borrower, if you have a good credit score, if you have a good job and you haven't lost it, and you have all your ducks in a row, then now you have this awesome, unique opportunity to where you can stand out from a lot of people who otherwise couldn't purchase property, and you're seen as a more valuable borrower. Right? So there may be less competition for you in the lending space simply because you're able to get pre-approved while other people are not able to get pre-approved. And it's not a one size fits all type of situation, right? So at Movement Mortgage, we're very, personal. So we don't put people in lines and tell them you have to hit these check boxes, and if you don't, we're moving on. We try to do our best to figure out every little nook and cranny and try to make things work for people, right? So if you have somebody like that on your side, you may get pre-approved while somebody else might not get pre-approved. And what that means is the buyer pool shrinks a little bit for you for a certain period of time. And then with a good realtor like Bernie, you guys can negotiate and figure something out with a condo owner and a condo listing, while not having to worry about a slew of other people who may have, you know, either gotten furloughed or don't have the credit score anymore, or anything like that.
Thank you. So reason number 3 to consider now is population influx. So prior to the pandemic, actually approximately 2 years ago, due to what was happening in some tax is California, Jersey, New York, the government voted on a cap on SALT, which stands for state and local taxes. There could not as much could be deducted anymore. There used to be no limits. Due to that cap, a lot of people decided to either relocate or take advantage here in Florida of 183 days of residency. Now, because of COVID and because New York started at the epicenter at the beginning of the pandemic, we actually have a lot of people that are seeking to relocate or somehow purchase here. So it's a really key time to take a look at maybe doing that condo investment. The other thing to consider with that population influx is that, you know, competitive offers are coming from people not only who live here locally, but are coming from these high tax states where they just have more purse. Also, the difference is how they look at comps. So I'm going to share an image very quickly. This is what your median price Manhattan apartment costs, $1.4 million, and what your median price Miami condo costs, which is $250,000. Let's be clear, those are median costs. Of course, if you're looking in downtown Miami or Brickell or certain areas of the beach, for those specific neighborhoods, the price is much higher. But the fact of the matter is, overall, for the population influx that is coming here, they see Miami as less expensive. So for those of you who are local or thinking about it, again, now may be the time to pull the trigger so that you are not competing with others. Another key thing in terms of the population influx is people are very attracted to the appreciation that is here. Appreciation in Miami purchasing, particularly in condo buildings, has been very consistent year over year at 2%. And lastly, the most obvious one, you know, basically the tagline of my real estate business is lifestyle. Again, because of the pandemic in New York and certain northeastern states, people are saying, wow, if companies are going to let me work from anywhere, or maybe I want to be settled in South Florida before the kids go back to school, people are positioning themselves for fall, but you know what else they're positioning themselves for? Winter. They're definitely trying here to make sure they have secured something for too cold. And it's a very interesting overlay because Miami has changed from, especially the Miami condo market has changed from one that has traditionally been very seasonal, and now people are living here year round. So I'm sure, Yousif, that you can probably definitely add some more context to that from your side.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was some really great information, and I agree with everything that you said. I also wanted to add that alongside with the tax benefits and things that come with a lower price point and things like that of having a property here in South Florida, Miami specifically, is that the beauty of having a team that focuses on condo transactions is that we open up the door to all the opportunities that are presented to anybody from the real estate side, but also from the mortgage lending side, meaning that we have programs and things that other people may not have, such as low down payment financing. So a lot of people don't know that they can purchase a condo here in Miami in a high rise for as little as 3% down, right? If you're buying something as your own property, you can put 3% down. As a matter of fact, I believe the condo closing tomorrow is somebody closing at 5% down, right? Which is an amazing way to, and I don't know if my audio got, there we go. can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah. So the ability to leverage that kind of financing and not assume that you have to put 20% down on every condo, and you can put 3% down, or even if you're from out of state and you're buying something just as a vacation home, you can do a 10% down payment and purchase that property that you may have thought you have to put down a bunch of money for. So it's really important to understand that there's huge opportunity on the real estate side, but also if you combine that with a team like us and you understand, okay, well, I got my bases covered on the inventory and the real estate and appreciation and price points, but then I also got, a lender who understands and has replicated this process time and time and time again for borrowers, different clients. It's just a recipe for, that's how the magic happens, right? That's how the magic happens. And that's how we're able to offer our clients these unique opportunities to where they can buy an amazing investment, not spend too much money on it, get an amazing interest rate, get the monthly payment they want, to combine all these different facets of a purchase, and everything is super streamlined just because we've done it so many different times. So that's really the value in something like this, and then combine all that with the circumstances we're in right now, and there are 3 reasons why you'd want to buy during COVID-19. It's just, like I said, that's where the magic happens.
With the time that we have left, I actually want to highlight another one of our case studies in being partners together. I have pinned during this live chat the link to the condo blog on my website. What I've done is I've selected a cross section of condo buildings in the 3Bs, 3Bs neighborhoods, key areas that I work, which are Brickell, Biscayne, which has downtown Miami, Edgewater, Midtown, and then the beach, primarily below the 30s on the beach. And the reason why that's important, and I kind of want to pull this out in terms of having a team, not only with history individually, but more that Yousif and I happen to share. I mean, how many times, Yousif, do you get text messages from me saying, have you done this building? Have you done this building? I gave this example before that your financing is important because not every bank nor every lender does every building. And they actually go by their history on it. So once I understand your criteria and your profile, I do send you a list of mortgage contacts. But one of the things I'm thinking through is which lender has recently done this building, because we want the process smoother for you and for you to be able to get approved and the funds needed to buy in that building. So my condo blog has my recommendations of some key buildings. They're definitely more than that, but hey, I can only write so much. But those are some definitely key starter buildings at a couple of different price levels. But one of the things that I love about Yousif is that he does the same thing. He constantly promotes certain buildings on his Instagram and social media that they have recently done lending in. And it's a great overlay because we actually share a client that's going to be closing soon again, a different client than the one we've referenced before. And I happen to be just checking in on his social media, and he has history of recently approving the building where that client wanted to buy. I think something people don't think about, which is why the pre-approval is important. Time is of the essence in purchase contracts right now. So you're not going to have, a long amount of time to find out that you're not going to be approved or to change your mind. There is a lot of pre-work now that actually does take place and must take place before we go and even see anything.
Yeah, exactly, Bernie. So what I get from that is really that preparation is key. And it's also important for us to do our due diligence for our clients so that we can take them through the amazing, what we call at Movement, the raving fan experience. So what that means is we want to get you guys from the moment that you start thinking about buying a property to the moment you're receiving your keys. We want to create an amazing experience for everyone involved. And there's a lot of people involved. so that you don't have any type of speed bumps, on the way there, right? So one of the big parts about that when it comes to a condo transaction is ensuring condo warrantability, ensuring buildings can get financed for the type of transaction we're putting the client in. And that's one of the many things that Bernie and I do together to ensure that our clients have that raving fan experience, and what we'll continue to do and grow upon in our clients' path to home ownership.
Right. So one of the last things that I think wasn't one of our key three reasons, I'll repeat again, but I think we should quickly touch on from both of our perspectives, is we're talking about condos. And there are a lot of people who have inhibitions about condos because of homeowners association fees. So from a basic perspective, let's be clear that with most properties, even if it's a single family home, particularly if it's in a PUD, you will be paying some type of association fee. You would, our area in the state of Florida. But specifically with HOA fees for condos, yes, they're higher, because with a condo building, you not only buy the dwelling, the other big piece of it is the amenities, and that really speaks to the lifestyle piece of it. One of the things that with movement is we're really good and really clear when we're looking at things with clients together. I will send him the listing, and we make sure to factor in what the HOA / maintenance fees are going to look like, to make sure that when they're providing you the pre-approval and the quote and the rate, that it is actually something comfortable for you. So again, we can determine before I go and show you something, if this isn't right and if this isn't comfortable, where within the criteria do we need to tweak? So if you could say a little something about HOA really quickly from your perspective, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly, DeBerti, for sure. I agree with what we're talking about here, which is that we have to understand that association dues are go somewhere. So from a lender's perspective, we see budgets all the time, and a budget is essentially what we receive from an association that dictates exactly where the HOA dues go. So who is paying for what and things like that. So being somebody on the personal side who's lived in Brickell, downtown Miami for close to 5 years now, I understand very clearly from a personal and a professional side why we have association dues for things like you mentioned, like we have pools and bowling alleys, and some of these buildings have golf courses and basketball courts and study rooms and all this fun stuff. So a portion of your mortgage payment is going to go towards association dues. But what's also very important for us to understand is, since we have a good sense of these type of association dues, and we have averages because we know how they're calculated as lenders, whenever we issue pre-approvals for our clients, we make sure that we discuss budgets. What we're concerned about is what's comfortable for you. What are you looking to have in terms of a monthly payment? What are you looking to have in terms of your down payment and closing costs? And what fits your particular budget and lifestyle? Because in Miami, there's something for everybody. So if you tell Bernie, hey, look, my budget is going to be $1,900 a month for a housing payment, we make sure that monthly payment is inclusive of every little nook and cranny you might think of. Your principal and interest, taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, association dues, and anything else that might fall within that realm. So we're not simply concerned about, hey, you're approved for $400,000, here you go. We want to be able to make sure that every one of our clients receives that individual, personalized type of attention, where if you tell us this is what my goals are, here's how long I'm going to be staying in this condo for, here's what I'm going to be doing with it after XYZ amount of years, that we have a specific quantitative plan for you, and we can offer you different options and opportunities that you may not be aware of.
One of the reasons why Yousif is one of my favorite lenders is not only do we have love in common, we're both Gators, but the fact that we're very lifestyle oriented, because that's what condos are about. They're about selling the lifestyle, but because we're actually condo dwellers. We live here. We volunteer in these communities. We're socially active in these communities. So when we're giving a perspective in terms of talking about why building would be best, but even bigger than that, looking at what, you're asking us to advise on. We have been in most of these buildings. We know them, we understand them. We don't live there ourselves. We have friends colleagues and contacts. So we're really able to add not only testimonials, but context and recommendations on a whole nother level, all of which are part of your package in your consideration of the transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. You know, it's we said it a couple of times during this live stream, and we'll say it again. It is very critical that anybody looking to purchase real estate, really all over the world, they need to have a really solid foundational team behind them, because there are so many moving parts to just simply saying I want to buy a condo to actually getting to that stage. And there's so many different things that can, you know, not necessarily go wrong, but that can put you in a better position by having professionals who understand these type of transactions and understand where you are and where you need to be. So see value in that and understand that you can reach out to me at any point in time. You know, you guys have my Instagram here, and I encourage you to follow me. And I put out some content that I like to share with everybody, whether you're shopping around right now or not. But I like to put out content that shows people that there's so many different opportunities for you, whether it's now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whether you're renting and you want to buy, you're buying, you don't want to rent. There's possibilities and opportunities for everybody. And being somebody who lives here and being somebody who works with somebody like Bernie, who also lives here, creates this amazing synergy that really adds value to all of our consumers, all of our clients, all of our borrowers. And that's what we look to do on a daily basis. We look to add value to our consumers. We look to add value to our community, and we look to put people in positions that they didn't think that they were able to afford or able to see, or simply, you know, opportunities that aren't, you know, available to a lot of people because they don't, you know, have a building approved, or they don't know how to negotiate, or things like that. So take advantage of somebody who has expertise like Bernie. Take advantage of somebody who's done, you know, hundreds of condo loans and knows the right from wrong, you know, the high from low, and open up the door for conversation and see where it takes you. I guarantee you'll think it's some more fun.
Absolutely. So we have hit our time. I want to be conscious because I had promoted it as 30 minutes for a lunch break. I really appreciate this. You taking the time to be here. I just also wanted to add, because of the times that we're in, and I am a broker who happens to I am a broker that happens to be Black, and Black Lives Matter is important to all of us. I want to thank you for being an advocate. You know, you post on your page. You've been incredible to me, not only in always taking my questions and my referrals to clients, whether or not they work out, but supporting me in events, you know, cheering for me on social media. That means a lot. And to see you actually being participating and active says a lot. So this is the time where we really need to stand for those professionals who all client files matter, and you are one of those. So thank you so much for doing this today and continuing to support my business. I appreciate it.
Bernie, it's very nice of you. That's very heartfelt. I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. Get a little goosebumpy right here, honestly, to be honest with you. But it's very nice. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Our motto at Movement is to love and value people and to add value to our community and cultures. And that's legitimately what we do. And you've seen it because you and I have known each other for years, and you know, we're friends and things like that. But that's really what it's all about. We do love and value people, and we treat every transaction that same way. You know, with the circumstances we're in right now, you know, things are very different, and we're conscious of that. And you know, we do whatever we need to do exactly that, which is love and value people and support our community. So we're going to keep doing that. And yeah, thanks again. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. So that's all for now, everyone. I'm at Lipstick and Chic Spaces, and I was joined today by mortgage expert Yousif Mohamed, and you can find him at The Fit Lender. Cheers.
There we go. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one.